Household energy independence has long been a subject of interest across different periods of modern history. Rising utility costs, infrastructure fragility, and regional outages have encouraged recurring attention toward alternatives that reduce reliance on centralized power systems. Within this space, most established solutions tend to be infrastructure-heavy. Solar installations require permitting, roof assessment, professional labor, and long payback horizons. Backup generators introduce fuel logistics, storage concerns, noise, and ongoing maintenance. Battery systems add complexity through capacity planning, degradation over time, and replacement cycles. Beyond financial cost, these approaches demand coordination. Installation timelines, regulatory compliance, technical oversight, and environmental constraints often create friction before any practical use begins. For many households, the challenge is not awareness of alternatives, but tolerance for complexity. It is within this broader context that informational products promising simplified approaches to personal energy generation continue to appear. The energy revolution system is presented as a digital instructional product rather than a physical device. It is distributed as downloadable materials that claim to document a specific method of assembling a small-scale energy-related apparatus. The product's scope is limited to guidance. It does not ship hardware, components, or tools. Instead, it frames itself as a collection of schematics, explanations, and assembly instructions intended to be followed independently. Conceptually, the system positions itself around historical inspiration, drawing heavily on references to early electrical experimentation and the legacy of Nikola Tesla. These references function as narrative framing, rather than technical documentation. The materials emphasize accessibility and reinterpretation of older ideas, rather than modern engineering optimization. There is no indication that the product functions as certified engineering documentation or as a standardized energy solution. It is presented as informational content rather than a regulated power system. Use of the energy revolution system begins with reviewing written and visual materials delivered digitally. Engagement is self-paced and requires uninterrupted reading and interpretation before any physical action is taken. Interaction level is moderate. While the product is positioned as instructional, following the material assumes a willingness to source parts, interpret diagrams, and perform manual assembly. The degree of hands-on effort depends entirely on how closely the user chooses to engage with the material. Time commitment appears front-loaded. Initial effort is concentrated in understanding the instructions rather than ongoing daily interaction. Repeatability is limited to reconstruction or modification rather than continuous operation guided by the product itself. Environmental requirements are not predefined. The materials do not specify standardized installation environments, regulatory considerations, or safety certifications, leaving contextual adaptation to the individual. This product aligns most clearly with individuals who are comfortable treating instructional material as exploratory rather than definitive. It assumes tolerance for ambiguity and personal responsibility in interpretation and application. Those who value simplicity in delivery may appreciate the absence of subscriptions, monitoring dashboards, or ongoing configuration. The format favors users who prefer static instructions over dynamic systems. Conversely, individuals seeking validated performance standards, compliance assurances, or turnkey deployment would likely reject this format. The system does not reduce decision-making responsibility or technical uncertainty. It also may not align with those expecting measurable outputs or externally verified benchmarks, as the product positions itself around conceptual understanding rather than quantified results. When compared with conventional energy solutions, the energy revolution system occupies a distinctly different category. It replaces infrastructure, service agreements, and professional installation with informational guidance and self-execution. This approach reduces procedural overhead, but also removes layers of verification and support. Depth, customization, and scalability are traded for conceptual simplicity and individual control. The system does not compete directly with established technologies in terms of integration or compliance. Instead, it exists alongside them as a low-structure, instruction-based alternative. There is no consolidation of outcomes or final positioning offered. The product remains defined by how it is framed, accessed, and interpreted rather than by standardized deployment. The material concludes without resolution, leaving interpretation and judgment external to the system itself.